Albuquerque, they say, is the only city in America whose name is misspelled. Philadelphia, on the other hand, is the city in America that is the most misunderstood. Pretty much most school children in America know where the word Philadelphia comes from. It means city of brotherly love. And it came from the Quakers. Quakers came over here, wanted to make a settlement, wanted to make a new world order. They held hands, they made plans, they danced around, and they called their main city Philadelphia. But Philadelphia doesn't mean city of brotherly love in the sense that everybody holds hands and jumps up and down and gazes into each other's eyes and creates a new utopia. Philadelphia is a Greek word. It's from the Spartans. When you say Spartans, does that sound like holding hands, making plan kind of a culture? No. Philadelphia is the word the Spartans, the Greeks, made up to characterize the emotional bond that exists between soldiers who have been in combat together. They say it might even be stronger than the parent-child bond. It's the city of brotherly love. Brotherly love. It's the love between people who have been in combat together. So that's Philadelphia, and I don't think a lot of people in Philadelphia even know that. But there's a lot of things about Philadelphia that people who live there, people who live around there know. Sometimes they admit it, sometimes they don't. The reporters are at the top of the list of people who may or may not know it but will never admit it, that Philadelphia is a dark and dangerous and dirty chocolate city where white people and Asian people, every move they make, the central organizing feature of their life is, can I go to that store? Can I go to that school? Can I go to that church? Can I go to that Starbucks? Without encountering black on white hostility and violence. That's Philadelphia. A guy wrote an article about it a couple years ago called Being White in Philadelphia. He kind of toned it down a lot, and even with toned down version got a lot of negative attention from the fellows who live in Philadelphia. But that's an everyday fact of life in Philly. And this everyday fact of life in Philadelphia is not an irrational fear. What it is an awareness that people in Philadelphia have. It's an awareness because what happened to you, or your mom, or your dad, or your sister, or your brother, or your friends. It's an awareness that there's an enormous amount of black on white hostility that often results in violence. And it's also an awareness that nobody cares. The cops don't really care. The reporters care even less. The mayor and district attorney of Philadelphia right now are two peas in a pod. They're all down with the fact that black people are relentless victims of relentless white racism all the time, everywhere. That explains everything, and that's how they act. But no matter what they pretend, no matter what their fairy tale land, this enormous amount of violence and denial is still an everyday fact of life in Philadelphia. You know, one of the places where it's centered around is Temple University in North Philly. We've done lots and lots of stories around there. Mostly I like doing stories about Philly because there are so many professors at Philly who study black studies, who study critical race theory. It's the theory, it's not even a theory anymore, it's an industry that talks about this relentless white racism, relentless black victimization that explains everything. They have Temple University is one of the main publishers in the country of books like that, of books for the black studies classes, of books for the sociology classes, of books for the teachers. If you're going to school to learn how to be a teacher, you read one of these books so you can learn as a white person how black people are not really responsible for this enormous amount of dysfunction in their schools. No, it's pretty much your fault if you're a white teacher. So every day we're reminded of that, but we're very rarely reminded of it in such a stark fashion as these two stories. One of them takes place a couple blocks outside of Philadelphia, a couple blocks outside of the campus, Temple University. Every student that goes there, you go there for a few weeks, months, you learn one way or another, you learn that the campus isn't all that safe. But taking one step off the campus, 10 steps, 20 steps, taking a shortcut, wrong time of day, wrong time of night, you're taking your life in your hands because there's an enormous amount of black and white hostility in that neighborhood, exacerbated by the fact that Temple has been buying buildings around in the hood. They want to build a stadium there. They want to put offices there. And everybody knows that gentrification, i.e. making a black neighborhood look a lot nicer. Everybody knows that's one big plot to do something to black people that I really quite can't figure out yet. So that's how the students at Temple roll. So last night, in the last 48 hours, there was a party at Temple. This was a party of black people. It was not students. But at least three people got stabbed. I think one person died. There was gunshots. There were stabbings. And the people in the neighborhood are trying to blame the gunshots and the stabbings and the nonstop violence and threat of violence in that neighborhood. They're trying to blame it on the students from Temple. They're trying to blame it on these little white kids that come to school to try to, to learn what it's like in the real, what it's like in the real hood. Get a load of this story.
The big story in Action News is a night of violence just off the campus of Temple University. A gunman opened fire outside of a party, leaving a man and a woman dead and a third person injured. Action News reporter Bob Brooks is live at police headquarters with details. Bob.
Yeah, Walter, good evening. This is a real tragedy. We're talking about two young people who lost their lives, 20 and 21 years old. And to make this even worse, this shooting happened just outside of a building where many Temple students call home. Witnesses describe moments of chaos.
We looked out the window. It was one person laying on the pavement right there. And there was somebody laying in the street right there.
They running, screaming?
Yeah. I called the cops.
But by that time, it was too late. The bullets were fired. How many gunshots would you say?
About 8 or 9.
Police say two people were shot and fatally wounded and another shot in the leg. It happened outside of this apartment building in the 1800 block of West Diamond Street just after midnight. Scott Peacock is a student at Temple and lives in one of the units inside. He was at home trying to study for finals.
Man, when I heard those gunshots, I knew to stay back in my room.
Detectives say a 20-year-old woman was shot in the back and a 21-year-old man was shot in the head. They were both taken to Temple Hospital but died. Peacock says when he heard the bullets, he took cover.
When something like that pops off, it's better to just stay clear.
According to police, there was a party happening inside the building with dozens of people, plus even more people lingering outside. Well, then witnesses tell police a gunman came out of the side alley and shot the 21-year-old man in the head, but then continued his assault, opening fire at those standing outside. That's when the young woman was hit in the back and a second 21-year-old man in the leg. We also spoke with another Temple student who lives at the building. She, as well as several neighbors, says the parties on Diamond Street have been out of control.
They need to relax. They need to chill.
College kids, they always have parties. They be crazy parties right here.
Then the same day, or within 24 hours, not too far away, a bunch of the fellas get into it in a subway.
New at 11, I don't want to die. Witnesses describe the horrifying attack inside a Center City subway. I'm Jacqueline London.
And I'm Jim Rosenfield. Right now, police are still searching for the attackers who stabbed two people in the middle of rush hour.
NBC 10's Aaron Baskerville spoke to one teenager who saw the whole thing. He's following the latest from that SEPTA station at 8th and Market. Aaron.
Jim and Jackie, just an absolutely awful situation out here, a very scary situation. This SEPTA station was shut down for about an hour and a half today, from 3:30 to 5 o'clock, right over there in that open area. Witnesses say that's where the victims were found. They were bleeding all over the place. Those two boys right now are in critical condition. They've been sent to the hospital. Witnesses can't believe what they saw.
It was like a big hole right here in the middle of his neck. He had blood like a little bit on his shirt, a little bit. And the other kid had blood coming all down his shirt.
It's still hard for 15-year-old Quam Pettigrew to talk about what he saw this afternoon. He was there at 8th and Market at the SEPTA station when two 17-year-old boys were stabbed several times in the neck and chest.
I just saw the kid swing and hit the kid right here in his neck. And like, it just happened like real fast, everything.
Some commuters say it was like a scene out of a horror movie. They tell NBC 10 one of the boys was walking around disoriented, not knowing at first where he was stabbed. Just tell me kind of what you saw when you were walking through.
Oh, well, I seen an argument, and the argument turned into a bloodbath.
Officers guarded the station during the busy afternoon commute. They believe a teen boy and teen girl hopped an eastbound train and got away. A routine afternoon trip to the dentist for Pettigrew has now turned into an unforgettable day.
He was saying, I just don't want to die right now. I really don't want to die.
And all the reporters and everybody there try to pretend this is something they don't really expect in Philadelphia. When we know that when you find the subway police chief, we've done stories with that exact guy, he'll come out and admit that yes, this is the kind of thing that happens here every day. Violence, 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 threats of violence, more violence. The central organizing feature of life in and around that SEPTA train is, can I ride that train to my house or to my job or to my work without going through a black neighborhood? Because if you go through a black neighborhood, that means bad business for you. That's not being afraid. That means being aware. Being aware that what you're about to see is something people in Philadelphia see and hear about every day, but now they shrug their shoulders. So that's Philadelphia. That's a city of brotherly love. It's always been rougher around the edges than some of its higher class counterparts like New York or Philadelphia or Washington, D.C. The people who live there, they take pride in that roughness as well. And maybe some of the people who live there, white and black, take pride in the fact that just going around the corner to get a quart of milk or a Philly cheesesteak, they can get the adrenaline flowing because you're constantly going in and out of fight or flight response. But that's Philadelphia, and this doesn't apply just to Philly. It applies to, I don't know, how many cities are within 100 miles of Philly? There are probably 100 cities that close, maybe more. I live in one of them. And this kind of black on white hostility, black criminality is a central organizing feature of life for everybody in the region. I'm going to do a story about what happened on my block. I'll do this tomorrow. I'm going to do a story about what happened on my block during my 30 days out in beautiful Southern California. I come back here, sitting out my front steps, smoking a cigar with True to Roof. All of a sudden, people from blocks around started coming. Some people know who I am, coming from blocks around and saying, Colin, this happened, that happened, this happened, that happened. And the cops don't do a damn thing about it. That's the way they roll in Philly now. It's the new Jim Crow. Too many black people in prison for no reason whatsoever. And I didn't go to law school. I didn't become a cop. I didn't become mayor. I didn't become a district attorney to be a part of that. That's why that's why in Philadelphia, the district attorney announced just a few weeks ago, we're not going to arrest shoplifters. We're not going to arrest low-level assaults. We're not going to roll to the corner store when somebody's in there shoplifting or hassling the Asian shopkeeper. We're even going to force you to take the plexiglass out of your store, because when you're in the middle of a ghetto with an enormous amount of black violence, putting up plexiglass to protect the Asian shopkeeper is some kind of insult to the Asian shopkeeper, because the Asian shopkeepers don't have any idea that crime is the new black entitlement, and taking down the plexiglass or keeping up the plexiglass is guaranteed to make the black kids angry.